My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Lisa Tulipani and Maria Riley. Lisa and Maria are the co-creators of an innovative project that's breaking down barriers and opening doors for inclusion. It's called the Lynnebago, a specially designed mobile unit that brings accessibility directly to community events, complete with an ADA-compliant restroom, sensory sanctuary, and communication supports for people with disabilities. During the program, we'll find out why and how the Lynnebago came about. We'll go on a behind the scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate how this first of its kind mobile unit can enable many more people with disabilities to fully participate in public life with dignity and independence. Let's start by meeting Lisa and Maria and then hearing all about the Lynnebago. Welcome. So delighted you're both able to be here.
Thank
Hello.
you for having us,
Thank
Jay.
you.
As you
Thank you for
know, about
having
a
us.
week ago, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet with you, have a tour of the Winnebago, came away so impressed, eager to hear more and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if each of you would just briefly share a little bit more about your background, perhaps professional interest. Lisa, would you start, please?
Sure. My name is Lisa Tulipani, and I am by trade a nurse educator. My specific work experience has been in the field of oncology, palliative care, and end of life transitions for probably the past 25 years. I've also done work in the corporate sector for healthcare logistics, risk and compliance, managing major pharmaceutical campaigns for new oncologic drugs. Personally, I'm passionate about pugs. I'm obsessed with pugs. I love marching bands, science fiction, specifically things that involve the concept of space, time, and consequence, which is a whole nother topic for another show. But yeah, I've always been in advocacy. I think since I was little, my parents definitely taught me to stand up and speak out, to make the world a better place. And the Winnebago is literally a vehicle for us to do that. So, and again,
Most
thank you again for having us. I'm so excited to be here.
Most definitely, most definitely. Maria, welcome. A few words
Well,
about
thank
yourself,
you.
please.
Hi, I'm Maria Riley. I have, by trade and training, 36 years of customer service experience, which entails of sales and marketing, retail, and a lot of accounting work. I also do hosting events for either corporate or on professional level. Um, but my most passionate things in life, besides, my family, is cooking, baking, and fishing. I like to fish for Zen. I like spending a lot of time with my children and just watching them reach and excel to their milestones in life, as well as teaching them life skills and how to be good human beings, towards others. Um, Seeing them like just be full of life and passion about what the future holds for them. It's just one of the things that, I love doing and making memories. Obviously, whenever we have some spare time, we like to travel and go on road trips and just make memories. I mean, at the end, that's what I want them to remember as they're growing older.
And that's one of the things that I came away with the Winnebago is its capability to make more memories for
Yes.
families, as we'll hear about in just a minute. Um, Lisa, can you begin and just briefly, what sparked the idea for the Winnebago? How did it come about?
So in 2020, I became a parent for the first time. My husband and I adopted an infant, and shortly after the pandemic started. So from the get-go, we were very isolated. A few months into our parenting experience, it became apparent that our son had very complex medical needs. And there he is. He's so cute. His name's Petey. He's 5 now. Um, we realized very quickly, even through a lifetime of advocacy and advocating for, and helping people adjust to the end of life process through my work in oncology care, you don't really realize how inaccessible the world is around you until that becomes your personal experience. I've had professional experience helping people adapt, but when it switches over into the personal, the things that you see and you notice in a society is so different. And what my husband and I came to realize is that the world is not built for people with disabilities. Some of that is systemically by design. Um, what Maria and I are looking to do is take our personal experiences and our own individual skill sets to fill in gaps. Specifically with the Lynnebago, the kind of the three big things that were issues that we noticed is that for my son, who is a wheelchair user and has mobility differences, sitting on a toilet is not an option. He requires a changing table. So that limits where we can go or how much time we can spend at outdoor events. My son is also nonverbal. Also, adding another layer, my father had a stroke a few years ago, and he has a lifetime of being an orator and a band leader and a disc jockey, and now that communication piece is gone. So it makes it difficult for us as a family unit to go to events. So, and then the last one, both my son, my husband, and myself do need time when we are in public sometimes to take a moment, take a breath, to regulate. I am a neurodiverse individual. So, having private space for peace and calm, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult navigating PTSD or whatever experience, these three things were lacking. So dignified toileting options, diverse communication aids, and private space for peace and calm. Those were the things that were preventing us from leaving our home. Like once for the disability community, the dust really hasn't settled from the pandemic, but when most of the world went back to living life in person, we started venturing out and realizing like, wow, society doesn't support the full spectrum of humanity. So what can we do to fill the gap, especially in outdoor events? Because for families like mine, where my son is immunocompromised, really we were looking for ways to maximize the outdoor time we can spend in spring, summer, and fall, not during flu season. Like that's our opportunity to go out and explore the world. And it's hard to explore a world that is not built for you.
Well put, well put. Well, before we hear about how the design came together and where it stands now, Maria, would you share a little bit about your personal connection?
Yes, my personal connection started with my son, who you see in the photo holding his diploma. When he was 18 months old, we have never experienced autism or any um, like information about it until, as he got older. And the life experience that we had was very unwelcoming and very cold from society, let alone the world and accommodations. Back then they used to call it meltdowns, but now we know it's a sensory processing, disorder.
Mm.
And being around like large crowds, bright lights, and loud noise was very discomforting for our son. And being a parent, it was such a struggle watching him be in so much pain and not having anywhere to go besides in the summer a hot car or in the winter a cold vehicle to help him decompress and express himself. And as a nonverbal till he was 6, it was hard to communicate with him. It was hard to communicate with what he needed or what he wanted. As the years went by, I saw a lot of his traits in my husband, which later on came to determine, yes, my husband is also on the autism spectrum. And then my youngest is also diagnosed too. But it all started with Alex. So his experience helped me grow into the parent that I am and advocate for not just only him, but for myself as a caregiver. And basically demanding change. And when change didn't come, we basically decided to take control of change for the future. My son was told he would never graduate high school, and there he is holding a diploma.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well,
Yes.
moving on in the second part of the program now, we want to hear how the idea began to take shape and then have you take us through the various stages, and then we'll jump inside and have a tour of the Lynnebago. So the first image to get us off and running is one we see right now. Lisa, would you share what we're viewing?
Sure. So these are actually the first sketches of the concept back in 2023, actually 2022. Maria and I were volunteering to support a local disability-centric community-based organization. And what Maria and I brought to the table was, well, we want to bring these accommodations that our family need to events that we were supporting. So it was a lot of physical labor. Maria, all she didn't mention in her bio, but she's also a massage therapist. And, she said, I have a massage table. Like, let's bring that. That can be a changing table. And then, I looked up communication boards and, out of our own pockets, we purchased equipment that we would then bring to community events to support this other organization that was hosting events. And that was a lot of labor. I think it took three. I have a minivan, you have an SUV.
Wow.
It took 2 to 3 vehicles full of stuff. And don't
Sometimes
forget,
even
we're
4.
we're also full-time caregivers. So we're trying to help create events that our families can go to, but we're doing all this physical labor. And, typically we would meet and get together before events or after events at a local Dunkin' Donuts, that is. And, we were thinking, as moms, as caregivers, as advocates, you're always thinking of like, how can we make better use of our time? How can we be more efficient? Like, this is so needed. But it's so much work. So, I think a trailer drove by or something, and Maria was like, oh,
With
we
the
should just get
hitch.
a
Yeah.
trailer. Like, let's just get a hitched trailer to throw all our equipment in. And I was like, well, no, 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 no. What if the trailer was the thing?
Yeah.
So I think our first idea was having 2 different trailers. So like one for sensory and one for
Mm.
bathroom. But
Mhm.
again, we're trying to be
Minimize.
efficient. So so that was the start of the idea. And then I think if you want to move on to the next image, what I drew on the napkin, my big brother Michael, I have 2 brothers. My oldest brother Michael is an architect. And I said, "Hey Mike, little sis has a question for you." Maria and I shared those napkin drawings with him and said, like, in your spare time that you have, can you come up with a rendering of what it might look like to, like, say if we were to buy a used RV,
Mm.
what would that look like to kind of retrofit it into this idea of 2 separate rooms, one which would be a universally designed restroom that has a powered height adjustable changing table, which really goes beyond the Americans with Disabilities Act in terms of accessibility and what type of human gets to use a bathroom when they're outside, also the
Mm.
sensory room. And then so this was a rendering my brother came up with, and this was one of like the first official drawings. And then from there we went to a couple different used RV places, priced out options. Along the same time, there was a competition that we came aware of called the Arc Tank by Northeast Arc. The Arc Tank is a social innovation contest that seeks to fund ideas that will change the status quo of the disability space and positively disrupt services that are offered. I think to date the Arc Tank has awarded like well over $1 million to 12
Mhm.
big ideas. Um, and these are ideas that have gone on to shape policy or create laws, and most importantly, develop safer ways for the disability community to simply exist in society. Anyway, we came up with this whole project plan basically from my experience in the corporate farmer world and Maria's experience with project planning. We really went through and came up with a business plan for this trailer idea to bring it to life. Now, initially, when we entered the Arc Tank, the Lynnebago was an independent project, and we were going to proceed in
Mm.
collaboration with the nonprofit that we had begun working with. We eventually won the grant, which was amazing. Over time,
Fabulous.
though, it became very clear that the Lynnebago itself needed to be its own entity because of um, the regulatory pieces, because of the funding, because it needed to be a focused idea to flesh out. So we are not a nonprofit. We are now existing as an LLC. And even though we are a for-profit organization, when we get to the point where we do make money, all that money is going to be invested back in. And we can talk a little later about the research plan. So once we won the grant, we won enough funding. We won $75,000. And I want to point
Wow.
out that this disability innovation competition, I think that the year it was 2023 where we entered it. Maria, I believe it was 100, almost, I think it was 148 or 150 international
Yes, 150.
applicants.
Yeah.
We were the only tangible, touchable existing product.
Huh.
The majority of the other entrants, at least the 7 finalists that we did a live pitch event with to compete for the funds, were technological applications, phone apps and things like that. So it was really, really cool to win. And I just want to point out that the Arc Tank competition itself is funded by a very generous philanthropist named Steve Rosenthal. He's a Boston-based business leader, and it's his dream to bring these amazing ideas to life. And we were so grateful to not only be able to participate, but that our idea and our plans really resonated
Mm.
with entrepreneurs, investors, the disability community, and again, it's a simple idea to address a very complex problem. And it's so cool to bring it to life.
Yeah.
So anyway, our initial plan was to, with the grant money, to purchase a used RV and renovate it.
Or
Um,
Winnebago.
yeah, for the yeah. So but with Maria's expertise in sales and business planning, we said, you know what, our dream is to make this replicable.
Mhm.
Either have a fleet or franchise it. We're still working out those minute details, but in order to make something scalable, you have to think about quality from the beginning. So we actually sought out a manufacturer, and we came up with National Restroom Trailer. They're based in New York and Chicago. They make FEMA grade trailers. So if there is a disaster and you might see vehicles roll up that could be like a bay of showers, or half barbershop, half
Mm.
laundromat with a couple showers. So they make all of these creative restroom solutions. They had never made a vehicle with a changing table in it, so like they were excited about it too. So
Mhm.
with the $75,000 grant that we got, we were able to start the build. This is actually what they took from my napkin drawing to my brother's
Mm.
rendering. This is their schematic engineering plan. for our trailer. So you can see some of the dimensions, and they were great to work with. We're so happy with the product. We look forward to working with them again. Hopefully in a few months we'll have funding to, we have our first prototype. We're hoping to make some improvements on that design.
Terrific. In the time we have remaining, about 9 minutes,
Oh,
uh,
geez, sorry.
Maria, can you start by sharing a little bit about what we see the prototype is all about? Fabulous images here.
Yes, so here is the universal restroom with the height adjustable changing table that's opened up right here on the left of the photo. It also has a full functioning bathroom, sink, and space to have either one or two caregivers or one person with two wheelchair users use the best restroom together. The changing table accommodates up to 330 pounds.
Wow.
So this way, whether you're a person in a wheelchair and caring for a child, or whether you're a caregiver and you're caring for adult or individual with different sizes of wheelchairs, this accommodates it. The wheelchairs that's easy to go. I mean, the changing table is easy to go down and up as needed. So this way, it takes away the strain on your back. And
Mhm.
as a caregiver, it does. I mean, Lisa can tell you, it does take a lot of strain and toll on the caregiver's body, and
Oh,
we tried to eliminate that by creating something that makes it accessible to everyone. And the bathroom is also heated and air conditioned. So this way it could go out at any temperature and be accessible to everyone. Depending on
terrific,
it does,
terrific.
yeah. And this sleek bathroom actually gives it a nice homey look too. It doesn't look too medical. It looks more comforting and welcoming.
Mhm.
And here's Lisa over here with the restroom. There's a group of medical staff. That's 7 people in that restroom, and there's still plenty of room to go around.
It's
And they're
very spacious.
right. We were so proud of our product that came in. I mean, we're so proud of it. And just to give you an idea, again, in that middle photo, there are 7 individuals as well as the person taking the photo. So it shows you a little bit of how much space is there and how much space accommodates for those in need.
As
Um,
we continue to move on, just a
yes.
few words about this other feature
Sure.
here.
That is the respite and calm sensory room. And this room here is basically accessible to everyone who needs that time out, who needs a little bit away from the outside world, whether it's at events or just a community event or even outside. If you need to come in, whether it's getting too much lights or sound. Um, of course, our sensory room is not fully designed in this photo, but we do have plan, as you see the photo underneath, to have a bench, have a nice cushion chair, and a nice sensory touch wall where it's going to have different activities, and we want to make sure that every item that goes into there is durable and it's going to last and it's going to accommodate the community with all aspects of it. Again, it's fully air conditioned and heated, and here's a photo of you using one of the beanbag chairs.
Very
um,
comfy, very
yeah,
comfy.
very comfy, so where Lisa's sitting, that's going to be a nice big area of a wider chair for those who can go in and out. And the area is a little small, but we still have room for individuals to go in and an individual in a wheelchair to also go in.
Terrific.
Hopefully
And
our next
as
project,
we move on
yeah,
to hear
sure.
Yep.
one of the other important features, just a couple of words so
Yeah.
we can
So
include.
yeah, I'm sorry. This is our communication board. So we have a communication board, whether for nonverbal or a communication board for sign language. And we also want to have a braille paneling for those who have sight issues. So this way we can accommodate everyone to communicate whether it's, we're at a park, our goal is to change to change the communication boards to fit the community that we are in. So if it's a picnic event, we want to change it to a picnic theme. If it's at a
Hmm.
like carnival or something, change it to a carnival theme, because communication is very important. And as I said with my son, he was nonverbal till he was 6. These boards would have came in so much handy when we were out as a community. I think it would have been great. And this is what we try to bring to others in our community and outside our community too.
Yeah,
Thank
full
you.
full
Thank you.
participation is made in events is made possible through effective communication, and this is
Yeah.
kind of one of the ways that we're bridging the gaps that exist.
Mhm.
Yes.
Lisa, can you also highlight some of the other specs related to the Lynnebago?
Absolutely. We made sure we based the design on some principles of disability and design justice. I can send more information in post for you about that. I think there's another slide that shows specs of that. Yeah, this one. So the Lynnebago itself weighs about 10,000 pounds. It will travel to events being hitched, and I believe it needs to be a 250, a Ford like F-250 type vehicle. For power requirements, it runs on 2 marine grade RV batteries, but will also either need to be hooked directly up to a power source within 50 feet. If that's not possible, we have dual generators for it, and that's to make sure the air conditioning, ventilation, and stuff is run. We have a 225-gallon water tank that will
Mhm.
contain non-potable water, so you can wash your hands, don't drink from it. And then we've learned so much about poop and waste. We have a 300-gallon gray water tank, and the Lynnebago, when it is rented for an event, will need to be arrive dry and leave dry. So we will be contracting with different waste management and water supply services to get that. Very cool. The ramp there, I just want to point out, the whole unit is on hydraulics, so it will be lowered completely to the ground. This is kind of storage mode. So the angle on the ramp that goes into the restroom will be at much less a pitch when it is in fully function. Um,
And,
it's so cute.
in closing, how can viewers and others find out more and possibly get involved with the Lynnebago?
Absolutely. That QR code right there, you can scan it. That will take you to our Linktree. Again, we are still in startup mode. So we have our prototype, but we do need funds. So the best way to support us, you can find through that QR code our the page to financially support us. No donation is too small. We'll take anything. With funds we are raising right now is to purchase that quality the quality furniture for the sensory space. We're hoping to host focus groups. We were hoping to do it this fall. Fundraising is going slow because money is tight everywhere, and we understand that. Hopefully, we'll be able to host focus groups in the spring to get more feedback from the disability community themselves. We realize we're very represented in caregivers. We want to make sure that any improvements and moving forward is focused on the disability community itself. And then find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, like and share our content. That's a free way to support us as well.
If I
You know,
could also
in
mention the QR code that's right here on the side of our screen also takes you to our link tree and the donation page called Give Butter.
Yeah, that's the platform we're fundraising on. It's called Give Butter.
Terrific, terrific. Well, I know there's much more to hear about the Lynnebago, but just want to thank you again for taking the time to be here, for providing us this wonderful backstory, the overview, highlighting the unique features that people can look forward to, and definitely encourage viewers and others to get involved. Continued success with future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Jay. And
much.
we
Thank you.
appreciate you and the work that you do on Innovation Showcase so much. And honestly, when we got an email that you were interested in talking, we were absolutely floored, honored, and thank you for your enthusiasm too. Like, you were so
Well,
Thank you.
appreciated.
it's just the type of initiative that this series is all about. So it's our pleasure and wonderful
Thank you.
opportunity as well. Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.